Hi friends, Miss Joy here from the J.C. Ralston Arboretum. Welcome to Garden Storytime. Wow, do I have lots to share with you this month. We have a new theme. This month we are going to be talking all about birds, and I hope that you had a chance to go see Miss Elizabeth explain our new theme this month on Facebook Live. We saved the video that she did on Monday, and she took a little tour of the garden and showed you the nest boxes that are around the garden and introduced us to our theme of birds for the month. So I hope you'll go check that out. And then in addition, we wanted to tell you about this really cool app that Cornell University has put together that is wonderful for bird identification. It's really easy to use. It's very rich with information. It's the Merlin Bird Id App. And guess what? This weekend, starting today, Friday, February 12th through the 15th, is the Great Backyard Bird Count. And so it's your chance if you go and get the free app from Cornell and then start exploring and looking for birds in your backyard. You can tell them what you've seen, and it's like a citizen science project where they're gathering data from all over the country about which birds are where, and it's just a great way to get started on birding. So we hope you'll download that and use it this month as we talk more and more about the birds that we see here in North Carolina. Now the really cool thing is, if you're watching us and you don't live in North Carolina, you can put your own zip code in, and the app is going to narrow down the bird list for you so that you're actually going to be looking for and exploring the birds that are in your area right now. You often see people with binoculars out birding, and I wanted to give you a few tips for how to use your binoculars. Now here's something else. If you have, I know we have students of all ages that watch our story time. So if you have a preschooler and you want to train them on good binocular etiquette, you might consider making your own little pair of binoculars. Look, it's just 2 toilet paper tubes, and then punch holes in the side and add a strap to it. And you can start training them on how to use binoculars in a correct way. So the first thing you want to know is you always want to have a strap on your binoculars. And the reason is because this is an expensive tool to see birds more up close, and you don't ever want to drop them. Secondly, you don't ever want to touch the lens, the glass parts, either at the end or the top of your binoculars. You want to keep those from any smudges because it can affect how you see out of them. Then secondly, the way you hold your binoculars is interesting. I never knew this, but you want to cup it in your hand with your thumbs out. And then guess what? When you hold it in the palm of your hands like this, and you can pull your fingers around like this, then you can use your thumbs to steady the binoculars so that when you are looking through them, they aren't shaking all over the place. And speaking of that, if you spot a bird that you want to look more closely at, what you want to do is you want to spot it with your eyes, and then instead of like putting your binoculars up and trying to find them, what you're going to do is you're going to spot them with your eye and then lift the binoculars to your face, and you should be able to spot them almost immediately. So those are just some good tips to help you enjoy using your binoculars in a more effective way. We got to get started with our story today, which is a really great introduction to birding, especially for young people, and it is called Crow, Not Crow. Enjoy the story, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Crow, Not Crow by Jane Yolen and Adam Stemple, illustrated by Elizabeth Dulimba. The first day Dad took me out birding, the sky was the color of Mom's old pearl ring. The trees were draped with birds. It was very noisy. My brothers all love to go out birding with Dad. They don't have any trouble telling one bird from another. But to me, birds look pretty much the same: wings, beak, and legs. And sometimes when I see them flying far away, they are just blurs against the sky. Maybe the boys have better eyes, I said. Dad handed me a pair of small binoculars, just the right size for my hands. Your eyes are fine, he told me. You just have to learn how to see and what to look for. He pointed to a line of bugs at my feet. What do you see there? Ants. And there, he said, pointing up at a tree where a squirrel with its tail raised like an umbrella sat on a sturdy limb. A squirrel. And there, he pointed out at the meadow where birds hopped on the ground and perched in the trees and soared across the morning sky. Birds? I asked. Dad nodded. It all begins with crow, not crow. What begins? Birding, he said. We trudged into the meadow. All around us, birds were singing, hollering, really. As we walked through the grass, we scared some of the birds up into the air. Before I was able to get my binoculars up to my eyes, those birds were gone. Fast, I whispered. But one bird didn't fly off. It was as black as a night without any moon or stars. Sitting on a tree branch, the bird glared down at me and opened its beak. Caw, caw, it said. Dad pointed at it. Crow, he said. Crow, I repeated, and smiled just a little. Now, find him in your binoculars, Dad whispered, as we knelt carefully to make ourselves small and be very still. The only parts of me moving now were my arms as I put the binoculars up to my eyes. The crow was suddenly huge. Tell me what you see, Dad said. A big black bird. Is it all black? The crow was so big, I had to move the binoculars around to see all of him. His wings are black. I took a deep breath. His legs are black. I took another look. Even his beak is black. And, Dad whispered. He's all black, I whispered back. All. Lowering my binoculars, I watched him fly away. His wingtips spread out like long black fingers. Crow, I named it. Owned it. We walked through the meadow to a marshy stream. A blackbird with a red and yellow band on its wing, like a medal of war, sat on a cattail. He's very black, I said. Crow? Did the crow have a red medallion on his wing? Think back to what you saw before. Picture it in your head. I thought about the crow. All black. Black legs, black beak, black wings, black. I shook my head. Not crow, Dad said. A flock of blackbirds settled into a field beyond the stream. I put my binoculars up. Their feathers were dotted with white, like stars in the night sky. Crow? I didn't take my binoculars off of them. What color are their beaks? Dad asked, even though I was sure he knew the answer. Yellow, I said, and they have stars on their feathers. Not crow, Dad said. I looked at the not crows and tried to really see them. Their yellow beaks, their night sky feathers. I spotted one in the flock that was different. It had plain black feathers and a dark beak. Hey, I whispered loudly, there's a different bird in there. Taking a deep breath, I steadied my binoculars. It's all black. Is it? I looked again, squinted, stared. At last I said, no, its head is brown. Not crow, Dad said. Not crow, I repeated. A bird called from a nearby tree. Chuck, chuck, it said. It was so close that I barely needed my binoculars. It's all black, I whispered. Its wings are black, its legs are black, even its beak is black. I put down my binoculars and grinned up at Dad. Crow. He shook his head. Look again. I stared at the bird as it chucked at me. It was all black, all. But it was not crow. I tried to see the differences between crow and this bird. Really see them. It's too small? It's too small, Dad agreed. It's the wrong shape? Dad nodded. Wrong shape. "And its eye is bright," I shouted, which made the bird fly off. "Crow's eye is all black." Dad smiled. "You remembered." I nodded. "I did." "Not crow," I yelled, pointing at the fork-tailed birds twisting over the meadow. "Not crow," at a yellow bird on a fence post with a V on its chest. "Not crow," at a wide-winged bird soaring over our heads. I laughed and ran, and Dad took big steps to keep up. "Not crow," I called to the tiny bird with the bandit mask. "Not crow," to the tiny bird with the black cap and beard. "Not crow," to the gray bird with the flashing wings. Suddenly, there he was, peering with one black eye down at me from the branch of a maple tree. "Caw, caw," he said. "Crow," I named him. Dad agreed. Crow. "Crow," I said. "I see him, Dad. I really see him." "I know," Dad said. He put his hand on my shoulder, but lightly, so he wouldn't shake my binoculars. "I see him, too." Eventually, my binoculars got heavy. Eventually, the crow flew off. Eventually, we headed for home, sometimes walking, sometimes pretending to fly. On the bird feeder near our kitchen windows sat a red bird with a tiny crest on its head. "Not crow," I said, a bit out of breath. We'd walked a long way, and birding is hard work. Seeing, really seeing, is even harder. But this afternoon, or maybe tomorrow, I might learn a new bird. Maybe sparrow, not sparrow. Maybe owl, not owl. And the next day, another. Till I'm as good a birder as my brothers, or better.